Hello, welcome back to the InsTech podcast. Zoya here, and this week's episode has a little bit of a twist. I know we often say that, but instead of our usual conversations with a founder, underwriter, or investor, Robin is talking to a new colleague and a key player in what's next for InsTech. Chris Eberly is the insurance practice lead at Datos Insights, the company that acquired InsTech earlier this month. And if you haven't heard the news, yes, it's official. InsTech is now part of Datos. So in this episode, we wanted to do a few things. Introduce Chris to our community, explain a bit more about Datos and what it does, and talk about what this next chapter means for us, for our members, and for the wider insurance ecosystem. Oh, and you'll also find out what a carillon is, how Chris ended up playing one, and why raising 6 kids and now 17 grandchildren may be the best training possible for understanding the complexity of insurance operations. So if you're curious about what this new InsTech Datos partnership means, or just want a smarter take on where insurance is heading next, sit back and enjoy the conversation.
Well, this week's InsTech podcast has a bit of a twist. And instead of chatting to someone from within our community, I'm talking with a new colleague, Chris Eberly, who is the insurance practice lead at Datos Insights. For those who haven't picked up the news yet, InsTech was acquired by Datos Insights on the 1st of August. Chris, this is a genuine pleasure. Welcome.
Thank you, Robin. I appreciate it. It's certainly an honor to be here and to be able to work with you.
We've only been working together for 3 weeks, but so far we've gone on swimmingly. There'll be people out there who, despite our very best as our PR machine, don't know what Datos Insights does. Can you tell us a little bit about what it comprises and the sort of services it provides?
Sure. We're very focused on helping improve the speed to decisions and de-risking those decisions. And we do it across several different verticals within Datos Insights. We have cybersecurity, fraud and AML as verticals, and then we have personal line banking, commercial line banking, and wealth management. On the other side, and then the side I love to talk about is insurance. And within insurance, we have for personal line P&C, commercial line P&C, specialty line P&C, and then life, annuity, and group benefits.
So you run the insurance team. That's a broad range of services. What do you see as your sort of specialty within the advisory? What do you think you're best known for?
I believe we're best known for our trusted advice and data about the insurance market specific to our areas of focus. We bring in senior principals that all have 30 years plus of insurance experience, mostly from within insurance carriers. This experience is across IT and operations. In addition to that, we have very talented advisors that typically have 5 to 10 years of experience in the industry. And they provide a lot of knowledge around areas like data science, AI, insurtech, and research. And then, as we love to think about, is within the Datos empire, as you say, a great events team, right? So when we go outside, we really expand into the events organization. I would say bringing people together into the community makes a great experience for our customers.
Give us an idea of size, how you resource, how many people you got?
We have about 20 individuals specific to the insurance team. That's across those senior principals I talked about, the advisors. We have account teams that support our customers. We have overall at Datos, we have about 150 people, and we're growing. So we're actually small enough to be nimble, but we're also big enough to be able to scale and be comprehensive in the areas of focus that we have.
You're not the only one providing advisory, consulting, research services. How do you seek to differentiate yourself? Do I gather it's the pragmatic nature of what you provide from people with real experience rather than kids with consulting backgrounds?
I think that's it. I think it is we differentiate through those practitioners, those years, decades, being in carriers, being in the seats of most of our customers, or as we work with vendors, we sat for years on the other side of the table from them. And so we can advise quite well about, gee, this is what you ought to be thinking about when you're talking to senior IT or operations executives in insurance carriers. And then certainly we love thinking about it as oftentimes we provide the virtual couch for our IT leaders to lay on as they're debriefing us on the challenges that are coming their way. And often we've sat in those same seats and gone through those mergers, acquisitions, transformations, reorganizations, and we help them through that. We talk them through that. And because we have so many conversations throughout the year, we're bringing experiences not only of ours, but of who we just got off the phone with, who was on the couch with us, so to speak, talking through their challenges. And we're able to bring that unique insight to really help through challenging times.
Part insights, part therapy. That's it's a powerful combination. And then are you mostly US based? Do you get to fish it in other waters?
Up until a few weeks ago, Robin, it was just the US and Canada. We're actually very excited to work with you, Robin, and your great team to be able to expand the insurance conversation. I know you've had conversations in the US as well, but for many of our client friends, this is a very welcome addition since they're already working their businesses beyond the US and Canada. So I think there's already some early excitement from some of our clients about this opportunity, and certainly we are.
Well, we found exactly the same thing. We have at least a dozen members who spend more money in the US than they spend in the UK. We know them well, and we have been after the ability to credibly serve their interests in the US for quite a long time. So that hence the power of this. And then finally on this, how many insurers do you work with, you sort of regularly advising?
We have about 130-ish carrier institutions that we work with regularly. We also work with an extended group of individuals who we know because of the years of experience that we are constantly reaching out. But we obviously favor and love our client friends at carriers. And I say friends because when you've been in the industry as long as several of us have been, half the time when we go to events, it's like going to a high school reunion. It's fun to get together and just see many of these people we've known for decades. And so it's exciting to get together with them. And on top of that, we have about 50 vendor partners as well that we work with, somewhere under 200 combined that we are working with on a very regular basis and literally having thousands of calls with each year.
I think that coming together will be interesting in the sense that I think we are vendor orientated with quite a few insurers, whereas I think you are insurer focused with a few vendors, and I think then there's obvious synergies from coming together there. While I've got you, I'm going to place myself on your couch and take a little bit of free advice. What are the big issues that you're seeing in terms of things that people want to talk about, the trends, the influences, the insights that they're after? Is there anything recurring that you'd like to surface?
First off, Robin, I love to think of or look at the industry as a whole. And let's start from a point of a positive nature. 2024, we got a positive combined ratio. It came in around 96.5 overall, which is a significant improvement over 2023 and 2022, which were somewhere in that 101.5 to 102.5 range. So it's nice to at least have a positive underwriting flow. And with that, the industry return on equity jumped to about 9.5%, which is great. 2023 was about 3.4%. So it's good. Some good numbers came in. I think we all can at least sigh of relief that we're looking better overall financially. But like anything, that doesn't come without some challenges. One is we've had 10% year over year increases in premiums. And that has effects. It has effects on consumers, has effects on the industry overall. We're seeing in the US uninsured home numbers being around 14%. And in some certainly challenged regions, and I know we'll get into this probably later as we geek out a little bit on data and things. You get into some of the challenged regions, there's some staggering numbers like 75% of commercial properties and upwards of 2/3 of homes being underinsured, not uninsured, but underinsured. And I think about that. I was recently talking to a friend. I'm really fun at parties, right? Because I just want to talk about insurance. But she was sharing with me that she received a non-renewal notice on her property because of an aging roof. And as she looked into the issue and talked with the carrier, it also turns out that she needed about 3 times the coverage for replacement costs. So on top of the 10% year over year premium increases, gee, I actually need more insurance that I've been paying for. So while we've seen the overall macro turning better, some of the things that we really have to be mindful of is the tension that's put on the policy holders, whether that's commercial and or personal. This is going to put pressure regulatory and from a product change, but it's also exciting. It's exciting to talk about and have some great challenges in front of us.
Let me just talk about that whole underinsurance, even uninsurance, if it's such a word, because to some extent, London is the beneficiary of that, seeing more and more opportunity. But amongst your customers, is there a willingness to grapple with this issue of trying to get more people insured or close the protection gap? Do they see better underwriting as better risk selection, select just the ones you know best and hope someone else is muggling up to take the difficult ones on?
I know with the customers we talk to, and when I hear leaders in the industry talking, I still hear a lot of desire to not just pick up the low-hanging fruit, but also to get at the broader problems that really why the industry is here to help people. And so I think there is a willingness. I think there's a willingness to work with states, with regulatory bodies to be able to get at the level that's appropriate. It's never, I don't think it'll ever be 100%. It can't be. I think there's a lot of desire to get at some of that underinsured level. And let's make sure we get people at the level, people in commercial entities at the level that they really feel comfortable at, that's appropriate for the risk that they carry.
If I was to pick the number one trend, the thing that we spend more time talking on than anything else, I'd say operational efficiency, risk ops, as it's starting to be known, the kind of taking submission data and running it through to being able to making better risk assessment, better data, standardized workflows, work benches and so on. Presumably that's super hot your end as well.
It is, absolutely. And it's one of the really exciting areas because to me, this is where it opens up that wonderful door of data and how we use it and where we use it. I joke many times to try to motivate my peers in the industry around how much Jeff Bezos there at Amazon, what he goes through to try to understand how much wealth or household income or spend we each have by evaluating the things we're buying through his platforms, and how much he would be jealous of most insurance companies that know exactly what people make because we ask them and they tell us. And there's a great amount of data that we haven't really brought into our industry at the level that we can and should. But there's huge strides being made. And just thinking back to the example I just gave, and I really applaud the carrier of my friend that actually said, hey, till you fix your roof, we're going to do a non-renewal with you. I personally live in a very wooded area, which I love. And I know of 3 or 4 houses that have had large limbs or trees fall in their houses in the last few years. And the insurance companies have had to pay for full roofs and damage in the houses because of that. Now, some of that is just going to be pure acts of high wind. You can't help it. There's storms. But some of it is people not taking care of their properties, not doing proper maintenance. And I think carriers can really help with capturing data about properties and saying, hey, unless you do proper maintenance.
We've got this far without mentioning AI, which presumably has a huge role to play in all of that. And then if I'm not talking about operational efficiency, I'm talking about agentic AI. What people want to know is mostly what do we think, followed by is it hype? And then what are people actually doing with it rather than what are lots of consultants talking about? Is that your world too? Is it agentic AI now the sort of number one tech hype buzz thing?
It certainly is, Robin. And I'm just patting myself on the back here for being able to hold my tongue this long without talking about it. I think we've had technology come to play that was a technology looking for a problem. AI is not that. AI is transformative. And I think most of the carriers that I've spoken with, they're taking it quite seriously. They're putting significant amounts of their budget aside right now already to really embrace and understand and learn. I think I always love the notion of things have never moved faster looking backwards, but when you look forward, they're never going to be slow as they are today. And so I think as we think about technology and innovation, AI is just going to increase the speed of which we can innovate and will innovate. To even get back to your point of, are carriers willing to do what it takes to get after some of these troubling underinsured numbers and uninsured numbers? And I think this is what's bringing excitement to them and light at the tunnel that they're following and saying, this is going to be helpful. We see it happening. So it isn't just about a dream. It is happening. It is about a reality. It's about very intentional investment, skill sets, and muscle building around innovating and being able to get the teams to innovate more rapidly and effectively.
It's a tough time being a CIO. It's never an easy job at the best of times, but it's a really tough job right now because you've got a whole bunch of people in your ear telling you that agentic AI is a game changer and you're mad if you don't bet the shop on it. And yet you've got the other half of it, cultural issues of running an insurance company. You've got legacy tech. You've got data not yet in the shape to optimize the ability to make use of the AI capability. So you've got to work out, if someone does give you a big budget, what you can spend on new technologies versus what you need to spend on your old technology. I'm very happy to sit on this side of the fence, providing little nuggets of advice to CIOs rather than have to be a CIO myself. I don't think it's ever been tougher when there's so much technology available to you and yet so much that you need to do to take advantage of it.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's why we see a consistent desire to outreach, to understand what's happening in the industry. The opportunity has never been greater, but the pressure has probably never been greater as well. And so what helps the CIO get through that is experience. It's experience of people that have built organizations, been through transformation. But I also, like you, I've got to hand it to the CIOs because they're looking at some unprecedented transformation of change. We've had policy administration systems that were around 20, 30 years. Companies have put in new ones. They're expecting at least 10 to 15 years. I think in another 5 to 8 years, the life cycle on applications is going to be down to 5 years because of the rapid change. And that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to figure out how to build your environment in such a way that you can technically always be under renovation and function as if you're in a stable environment. And that's a lot of the challenge that CIOs have. So I agree with you, Robin. I've been in those roles. I'm happy to be helpful from the sidelines.
Always better to be a pundit. So we're now working together. We were very clear about what we needed to fix our business in the sense that we needed access to the sort of advisory, consulting, research capabilities that you provide. We've always had the potential to do that, but have never been able to make success of it or resource it properly. We also need access to people who could help us with the amount of business that we could potentially have in the US. On the flip side, looking at InsTech, what is it that we can help you with? What excites you most about having me and others as your new colleagues?
Other than just adding some more just great people with an incredible amount of experience and talent as yourself, Robin, I look at it and I think what we've talked about even here, the challenge of the CIOs, we have a pretty good handle on that, even operations. But there's a side that you guys bring that I think is phenomenal, and that's the expertise around the risk management. and the technology in the insurtech space that goes along with that, where we see, and I see personally, the greater need for the technology and the operations, which has almost traditionally in the US kind of operated on their own. And I think where we have to act today to solve some of the problems that we see in the industry and some of the challenges, they're going to have to work more hand in hand and developing these products faster and being able to really understand the impact of new product change to the organization and such. So I think bringing the two together, I think we're becoming indispensable to carriers.
InsTech's Show and Tell is back, the most interactive insurance event of the year. On September 25th in London, forget endless PowerPoints. This is about getting hands-on with 10 cutting-edge solutions transforming underwriting, broking, and claims. Each company has just 5 minutes to show you what they can do. Then it's your turn to walk the floor, test the tech, and challenge the innovators directly. Bring your whole team because this is where ideas spark into action. Free to attend, but spaces are limited. Register now at www.instech.co/events.
I don't want to go away without people understand a little bit more about Chris Eberly, the man, the very capable and very experienced advisor. But you've also have a much broader set of talents that I'd love to bring to people's attention. We first met in New York in June at the event that we did with Google. And two things when I met you stuck in my mind. The first was that you play the carillon. Now, I've never met anyone who plays the carillon before, and there'll be lots of people now who say, "What's a carillon?" And I think you'll have to tell everybody.
And by the way, that makes me a carillonneur, which is even hard for me to say, but yes. And it's a wonderful instrument. They're huge in Holland. But in the US, there's roughly about 180 carillons. They're mostly either at churches or at universities. They're large bell towers. So anytime you have 23 or more bells brought together, and they're all wired into a wooden clavier, they call it, and a bunch of wooden pegs, and use your hands and feet to play them. And so it's a very physical instrument. It's a great instrument. And one of the things that I really enjoy about it is because they can be heard for quite some distance, because they're outside and they ring and they play loudly. Most concerts are done where people sit out and they picnic and they enjoy food together as family and friends while music is being played in the background. So it's just a community-based instrument. You can't really hide and play it, which is always the scary thing, because when you hit a wrong note, it rings.
So now you're going to get me all excited now. How do you ever practice?
So they do have and what is so cool about the carillon is there's no two carillons that are the same. So when you say you play the carillon, unlike every other instrument, there's strong commonality between the instruments. There is some commonality between instruments, but there's always a different number of bells. There's a little different how they're set up, where you sit in relationship to the bells. And so it is a lot of fun to play, but it's always encouraging. If you hear about a carillon, go see it, because they are all different. So when they build the clavier, which is what you sit at and play at, there's a practice one that's built that looks like a xylophone on top. And it's a replica of the playing instrument, and you sit in the corner and you practice, but it's not really the carillon.
At the risk of spending too long on carillons, there's one more question I have to ask you, which is, how did you get into it? You clearly have a talent for it and an enthusiasm for it, but at what point did you go, this is the instrument for me?
It's a fun story. I actually went away to prep school, boarding school, my sophomore year in high school. And I went there on a music scholarship. I played the piano. And that's where I got introduced to the carillon. And it was very interesting because the gentleman that played it, I loved it. I loved the physical nature of it, but he didn't think I'd take it seriously. So I wound up calling home and saying, "Hey, Dad, find me a carillon to play." And it turns out 30 miles away from where I lived in the city of Stamford, Connecticut, there was a big carillon. And so I actually, at the end of the school year, I left the school and never went back. I came home to play the carillon, and I have played and loved it ever since.
It makes my little grade 8 in the flute, aged 18, feel very uninspiring in comparison. Then the other thing I remember about our conversation was the number of grandchildren you have. Come on, you must tell everybody a little bit about your extended family.
Well, yes. My wife and I have been blessed with a large family. We had 6 children, 3 boys, 3 girls. We watched a lot of the U.S. show Brady Bunch growing up. They are married. We have 17 grandchildren at the moment, although I poll my children every once in a while, and they tell me we're getting really towards the end of this, Dad. I think we're winding down on that, but it's so much fun. I love it. It's awesome.
You're talking to a man who had his only granddaughter over for the whole weekend as my daughter went to watch the Oasis concert in Dublin. 48 hours was, I am absolutely shattered. I am a broken man with one 15-month-old. I don't know how you cope. But honestly, those are all very intriguing and make you much more than just an absolutely exceptional advisor to the insurance industry. And I think after all that excitement of carillons and grandchildren, we should end on a suitably work-related note. What would be your final thought to leave this podcast listeners with?
I love it. And what I want to end with is really my passion for the industry and appreciation overall for the financial stability the industry gives individuals, families, and communities by ultimately accepting the risk for those who don't have the assets to accept it themselves. And I've always found it altruistic. Ultimately, carriers are there to support people in their greatest time of need and to help them out. And that takes a personal touch that obviously I take, and I think it's wonderful. So I know I can continue to improve and work with my friends in the industry to improve the industry. And quite frankly, I just want to be part of improving and making those changes.
It's a great thought. It's just such a poor job at selling itself as a sort of fundamental cog in the way in which society and the economy has to work. It's a very good point. Look, this has been a pleasure. I really look forward to working with you and your colleagues. It's a great opportunity. I'm glad we got you on the podcast within a matter of weeks. And I'd like to take this opportunity of saying just a thank you to you and to everybody we've worked with, because the way in which Datos has handled the acquisition and the post-acquisition has been absolutely optimal. And you'll find a very enthused and very motivated bunch at InsTech ready to work with you all. Chris, it's been my pleasure. I look forward to seeing you soon.
My pleasure as well. Thank you, Robin, and thank you to all of those who take the time to listen and learn and enjoy.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care.
Well, if you've made it this far, then I'm pretty sure you found that as interesting as I did. The InsTech podcast comes out every Sunday morning, where we spotlight the latest news, leading voices, and freshest updates across insurance that you need to know about. If you would like to take part in these conversations, head to www.instech.co to find out how you can join our network and be a part of the insurance intelligence for the curious.